Start your development skills with Prof C. Okay. In today's video, in this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through building a LinkedIn Notifier app. So then what is a LinkedIn Notifier app? I'm just trying to show you exactly what you can do if you utilize all the LinkedIn features. So then this app uses the LinkedIn APIs to make automated posts, perfect for streamlining your content posting directly from your application, your C# application, which would be the command line application or the console app. Right? By the end of this video, you will have built a full solution and learned how to authenticate within LinkedIn API, generate access tokens, and make a post request to publish content on LinkedIn at the comfort of your zone. So what do we need? We will be using .NET Core, RestSharp, and Newtonsoft.Json packages. Without wasting any time, let me just start by give you the hints or steps. Just stick with me or follow along with me. So then step one, you will do the project setup. You come here inside, you open your Visual Studio and then search for console. Search for console app and then choose this template. And then if I can explain the goal of this console application, we will create a C# console app that posts directly to LinkedIn using LinkedIn UGC post API, right? So then start by creating this .NET project. Let's select that and then select that, then click next. So let's name that application LinkedIn Notifier, and we click next. If you want to create it using something like bash, using the commands, you can do so by writing .NET new console-n, then the app name. It will create the application for you. And then when we create next, in additional information, we'll click create, and then Visual Studio will create our app. There we go. We have our application created. So then if you are using the commands to create the app, this time you will then have to cd into the directory where your app is created, right? And after that, the next thing you're going to require, you will need to install all the required packages, right? And then what do I mean by all the required packages? I told you that you will need RestSharp for making those HTTP requests and the Newtonsoft.Json for working with the JSON payload in API, all right? So then step 3 will be setting up your LinkedIn developer account. Just register your app on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn developers and create a new application. I will then pin the link for you to create your account there. And then after that, when you inside the LinkedIn developers portal, after creating your account, you will then have to generate your client ID and client secret for OAuth authentication or for the OAuth flow. Then you set up your redirect URL as HTTP localhost, whatever port that you can give, and then /auth and LinkedIn /callback to redirect so that you can get the access token back when you authenticate in LinkedIn. right? So then step 4, what you will do, you will then have to require OAuth 2.0 for user authentication to post on LinkedIn. We need to request an authorization code every time, then exchange it for an access token, and then LinkedIn will do that for us and pass back access token when we request authorization code, right? And then when you run your application, your console app, your application will then craft the URL to initiate the OAuth flow. And then after that, then you will open that URL to run authorization or request authorization in LinkedIn, and then LinkedIn will then give you the access token that you're going to key in onto your console. So you will also need to add user input for authorization code, which is important. Then getting access token. You will use the RestSharp client to send a post request to LinkedIn. Don't worry about that. I will walk you through that step by step, as you know. So then we will also use the API to post to LinkedIn, which uses the access token to post, and then you use the access token to make a post. We will use the RestSharp again to send a post, a request to LinkedIn API, right? That will be our post request. And then executing the post, we will just make sure that access token and the member URN are passed correctly when calling the post on LinkedIn function, which we will pass the access token and member URL, and then it will be that. So then, in just a simple summary, what I can tell you is we're going to build a LinkedIn Notifier app that can make automatic posts to LinkedIn using the LinkedIn API, and then we will also be able to cover OAuth 2.0 authentication using the RestSharp for API request and publishing a post using LinkedIn UGC Post API. What a charm. So without wasting any time, let's first install all the packages. So then when you're inside your Visual Studio, when your project is created, come to Tools and then come to NuGet Package Manager, and then Package Manager Console. Open that, and then let's start to install. You will say .net add package, then RestSharp. Could not find any. Okay. So then what you have to do, you have to do like that. Then it's not being found. So then what we can do now, let's go ahead and start writing our code. So here let's just do it like this. Let me close that. Let me do like this. So then I light everything and hit delete. We write everything from scratch here. So then let's start with our main code that you're going to be executing. So then we will say, adding the namespaces, let's say using system, which is important. We're using system, and then let's say using system dot timers. So then remember timers, what we're going to use timers for, it will be for polling LinkedIn periodically. We'll use timers for that. So then let's say using RestSharp. Let's say using RestSharp. So then don't worry about that. He's complaining because we haven't really installed the packages as yet, but we're going to do so. So using Newtonsoft. We're using Newtonsoft.Json link. So don't worry about those two. Is because of the missing packages we haven't installed this yet, which we're going to do so at the end. So we're going to say using system dot windows dot forms. This is for getting notification from a desktop, if you'll be using a desktop. And we all know that we will be running this console application on a desktop, right? So let's say using system dot drawing. No, that's not drawing. System dot drawing. And then let's say using system dot diagnostics. And then let's say using open XML. No, we don't require XML now. So then let's go ahead and start writing our code. So then remember, we will start by writing our main class program. So then let's say class program. And then we nest our private static system, dot timers dot timer, then call the poll timer. So let's say private static string, and let's say LinkedIn linked. Let's do it like this. LinkedIn client ID equals to, then let's give it an empty string and close that. So then this is where you're going to pass your client ID after creating your app, or after creating your account in developers portal on LinkedIn to use their API. So then let's move on. It will be private static string, again let's say LinkedIn client secret. let's write secret nicely, and then let's pass empty string there. Private static, private static string as always. Then here we will need the LinkedIn access token. So let's say LinkedIn access token, then equals to, then empty string, close that. Then we will do also private no, let's do it like this: private static string. Then here we're setting our redirect URL. So then we will say redirect URI. Then let's assign some empty string there. Then we do also private. We do also private static string. Then here we're setting our LinkedIn API URL. So then let's say LinkedIn API URL. Then give it empty string, and then let's say private static string. Here we will be storing the member URL after fetching the profile of that particular user, right? So we will say member URN, and then close that. Then let's just do 2-step down, and we start with our main method. So let's say static void main. This is the main method that we should be triggering our timers and everything. So then we say string and pass that, and inside that we will then start with the main function that we're going to be calling when we execute this, or when we run this application. Remember, when we run this application, the main function, it needs to be the start OAuth. Let's say start OAuth flow, and then that. So that will be our first main function that we're going to call, and we will then have to set our polling, just to set up polling for, like, to poll LinkedIn for like every 1 minute in this case. But you can set whatever time that you need. In our case, for the sake of learning faster, we will set it to 1 minute. So then let's say poll timer equals to new system dot timers, and then 1 minute it's equivalent to 60,000 milliseconds. Then we will pass that 60,000 milliseconds there. Then secondly, we'll do poll timer dot elapsed plus equals to, then we assign it poll LinkedIn. We assign it poll LinkedIn, right? So then let's do this to auto reset. So then to auto reset, we will say poll timer dot auto reset. Then let's say equals to true. Then to keep it enabled, we will say poll timer dot enable equals to true. Then what we will do after that, we will say console dot write line. Then in a string, we will say, we will print started LinkedIn notification app, and say press enter to stop. We are letting the user. So then we will, to keep our console on, remember we need to do so that it doesn't start and close at the same time. So remember we need to do console dot read line, which is that, and we give it that. Then outside that, you will just go to step down, and then we start with our main method for the auth. So then we will say private static void start OAuth flow, then that function. That function. As you can see, don't panic or feel afraid to ask any question. Drop your questions in the comments, and then I will answer you. So the first thing that we need to implement inside this main method for the start OAuth flow, remember here we need to be using the OpenID profile and email to pass the scopes. So then we will say var authorization URL equals to, then you will do it like this, $, then open a string, then pass you need to pass the HTTP, let's say HTTPS, because it's LinkedIn, HTTPS // then we say www www.linkedin.com, linkedin.com. Then we do OAuth. This is the endpoint to call for authorization. Say v2, then authorization. Then check that, and then get response, and then type of that, and then we require a code, and client ID equals to, then it's advised to use the curly brackets, so then do curly brackets and say URI dot escape data string. So then select this one, escape data string, and open that and pass in LinkedIn. Let's say LinkedIn client ID, LinkedIn client ID, and then we add also an a redirect, because remember we need to be redirected after the authorization passes. LinkedIn needs to redirect us and give us the access token so that we can go through. So then we will say redirect URI equals to, then that URI dot, here we will use our famous escape data string. So let's say escape data string and do the same like we did, which is the redirect URI which is that the redirect URI. We just need to go out of these curly brackets and say and scope. Then scope is equals to OpenID. As I told you that we need to be using OpenID. Then do that and say profile and say email and just move this here and say email, then say w member social, then we close that. So then we did the hardest part now of authorization. And so then the next thing, after we are authorized, we need to say console dot write line, and we say opening LinkedIn authorization the casing. So then we will say LinkedIn authorization, let's make it lowercase. So then let's say authorization URL just 3 dots to show the progress. So then now close that, and then you do also the console dot write line, and then inside that you can then have pass authorization URL. Look how cool is that. So then let's move. Then now, after that is done, what needs to happen is we need to open the authorization URL in a browser, right? So then we need to implement a process to get that done. So then let's say process, dot start a new process start info. So then this will be called process start info. Let's just rectify that, process start info, then have our command inside there. So then let's say cmd, outside that just give it a comma and say hash, give it a hash and open that, then /c. This is the command to start that process. So then just write it exactly like how I'm doing so that you don't get lost, and then you pass it authorization URL, and just one step out of this curly bracket, then you will create another curly bracket and say create no window. Then give it true, then give it that. Then after that we are having a nice process to run that. So then we will then have to ask the user to provide the authorization code from the redirect URL and type it onto the console. So then let's say console dot write line, and then inside here we can then have prompt the user to enter, or let's say please enter the authorization code from the URL after logging in, because remember, after logging in, LinkedIn will authorize you and get your profile, then give you access to that. So then we will do this, and then we can say string authorization code equals to console dot read line, so that we can accept the code input from the user. So then the next thing that you're going to do, we need to exchange the authorization code for an access token from LinkedIn. So then how do we do that? We will then have to say get access token, then assign it authorization code, which is that. So then just like that, we have our main method for the start OAuth flow. So then second method that we need to build, we're going to build the get access token method. So then just go to step down out of this curly bracket, 1, 2, and then say private static void and get access method, no, let's say get access token instead. Get access token instead. Then that access token, we require a string of that authorization code. So we can do that and have that and have that. So then inside here, that's where we're going to have our implementation. So then let's say var client equals to new rest client. So remember, REST client will be fully depending on the RestSharp package to assist us in executing all these HTTP requests to LinkedIn. So then don't mind these complaints. We will fix it. So we will do like that. And then just like that, we will then have to pass the https :// then linkedin.com, then OAuth, then v2 access token. Remember, this is where we will be getting the access token. So then we say access token, then that, and close that. So then we also say var request equals to new rest request equals to new rest request equals to new rest request dot method. Let's just write method, then equals to. Remember, now RestSharp no longer accept these capitalized HTTP terms. So then we will then have to define it as method dot post, then close that. Let's say method dot post, then close that. So then we also need to do our request parameters. So then let's say request dot add parameter, Then first thing, let's give it its grant type. So then grant type, then we can give it authorization code. Very nice. So then let's just take this authorization code inside that string like that, then close that. Then let's do another request add parameter, and this one we'll give it a code. Then on that code we then pass it the authorization code. Right, and then let's do another request add parameter, and then on that node we give it the redirect URI. So then the redirect URI, we give it what it wants, which is the redirect URI, like that. Then close that. Then let's do another request add parameter and give it client ID. So client ID, we will then have to do it. It's client ID LinkedIn, pass it LinkedIn client ID. Then let's do another requested parameter like that, and on this one we will do client secret, and I give it LinkedIn client secret, which is that, and like that. So we will then have those parameters. And then we will then have to do the response. So then this is where we will be getting the response from the request. So then var response equals to a client dot execute, and then pass it a request. Then we will then have to say var content equals to JSON object. So then let's say J object dot, no, not JS object, let's do it our own way, J object. Then we pass response.content like that. So then now we need to do the if statement to check if the response is successful. So then let's say if, then pass the response dot is successful, then we do it like that. Then inside here, that's where we can then define our LinkedIn access token equals to then content, then give it access token, access token, access token, and then just outside that, then you do a check, then you make it to convert it to string, then close that. Close that. Okay, after converting that, we need to console write line to validate or check if access token is received successfully. We say access token received successfully, then close that. Okay, so then just go 1 or 2 steps down, like 1, 2, and we say get user info, and we say LinkedIn access, LinkedIn access token, which is the access token, right? So then remember, when we do the if the if statement, we need to make a condition, else console write line, let's do else console write line, then we will shout failed to obtain access token, right? So then this is what we will print if there's any error regarding accessing the tokens. So then, as always, we need to make sure that we do console write line response dot content. So we are good, and then there we go. We do have our get access token method implemented. So then what we need to do, we need to implement our get user info method. So then just do 2 step down as always, then start with me by writing private static void get user info, then we will say string and pass it the access token. Pass it the access token, and inside that we have to say var client equals to equals to new rest equals to new rest client, new rest client. Then we give it that API endpoint from LinkedIn to get the user info, which is https:// then API dot LinkedIn API dot linkedin.com, then / v2, then we get user info, then we close that. So the next thing we will say var request equals to new rest. This is for the rest request. So we say rest request, a new rest request, then we close that, and then say request dot method, request dot method equals to method dot get. Let's just say method dot get that, which is that. Then we will then need to add the header. So then we will say request dot, instead of adding parameter, now we're adding the header. Let's say add header, and authorization, then we do it like that, then give it access token, and now we need to close that with that. We need to do it like that. Let's do it like that, then close that. So then two-step down as always, and then we start with var response equals to client dot execute request. So then let's make an if statement. Let's say if response is successful, as we always do, then let me do it like that. Okay. Okay, let's do it like that. Inside this if statement, let's say var user info, var user info equals to var user info equals to, we need to assign it like the J object. The J object dot let's do it like that. We will rectify. Also, then we pass response dot content. And then let's just rectify that to be J object instead of JS object. So then we will then have to say var id equals to user info. Instead of passing an ID, let's pass a sub. So when we pass an object, we do the check and convert to string, then give it that, and then we will then have to do again the member URN, which is that. Then for you to understand there is better, you can go to the LinkedIn API documentation and read the API docs, how the payload looks like, how the JSON structure of what is expected by the LinkedIn API looks like. So then all these fields, you will see them there, and the properties of what the LinkedIn API expect. So we say member URN, and we do that URN li then we say person, because we're trying to get ID of that particular person. Then now we can say ID. Now we can say ID, and we'll close that. So we always have to console write line to print what we have extracted. So then we will say console.writeLine, and then inside that string we do it like let's include $, is that member URN then member URN, then close done. Then that, then that. So then now we have that. Now we have that. Okay. Okay, so then now what we have to do, we have to make sure that we post to LinkedIn after retrieving the correct URN from the API. So then we have to say post post on LinkedIn, post on LinkedIn. Then we have the access. We give it access token, and then that member URN. Then, as always, we need, if we do the if statement, we need to also cater for failure. If failure may occur, we need to do if else. So let's say else. Let's say else. Then let's say else. Else. Then that. Then we console dot write line. We console dot write line. Then field to retrieve the user info. Then curly bracket, and then we do response response dot status, response dot status description, status dot description. Then we do that. We map it to response dot content. That's what we are doing. So then we also need to do our function to create a post to LinkedIn. So then we will do it like that. Okay, let's just close this with that, and then we do 1 2 as always, and then do it with me, private static void post on LinkedIn, post on LinkedIn. Then we'll give it the access token and the member URN like that, and then we will do it like that, and let me just go there like that. Then we start with implementing the function to create a post to LinkedIn, right? So then we will do var client equals to new rest client, new REST client. Then we attach the API endpoint to post. So then we will do like this, HTTP, and then we say API dot linkedin.com, then /v2, then UGC post. This is the endpoint to post. So then we will close that with that. Then we will do also var request equals to rest request, then close that. Then let's just add the request dot method to get the method type of that. So then it will be, it needs us to make a method method dot post, right? So we need to kinda add like the necessary headers for this post request. So then we will do request dot add header, then we say authorization, then that, then as the barrier token, then we will give it barrier like that, then just space in curly brackets, and we pass it the access token, and we close that with that, and we close it like that. Then we do also need to add a request dot header, then so then this is for that RestSharp. So then we will say x rest. So we will say rest, let's say rest li, then protocol version, right? And then just out of that we identify version of that. So then you can say 200 and then put dot like that. Then you close that with that, right? So then what I need you to do, or what we'll be doing now, we'll be manually building the request body as a string, so that we can avoid the property name issues. You know, LinkedIn APIs at times they do have these strict policies. So then we will build the body manually. We can't go and copy and paste from the documentation. So then what we will do, we'll come here and say var post body. So var post body equals to new, then that new just like that. Then we are building the request body. So then let's say author will be you, or the profile trying to post anything to LinkedIn automatically or automated. So then you say author, then member URN, let's say member URN, then give it that, then let's say life cycle state, life cycle state. Let's just do some capital S here, and then is equals to the status of that. Let's say, let's call it published. Then close that. And then we will do a specific content that we're trying to post. So specific content equals to new dictionary. We use dictionary to store those contents, so then we'll say dictionary, then string, then that, but let's not do it like that. Let's say object, then close that. So then under specific content, what we're going to do, we're going to have that specific content nested inside that. So then we make object, let's say com dot linkedin dot ugc linkedin.ugc dot share content then equals to new share, let's say share commentary, right? Share commentary equals to now let's not give it access token, we need to give it new, then nest that inside that, then let's say text equals to. So then this is something that, okay, let's just write anything we will be trying to post. So we'll say this is a test post from my LinkedIn Notifier app by Prof C, right? So just make sure you do it the exact way that I'm doing, so that you don't get lost along the way. So then you close that. Once that is closed, so then under that you will then require or need to write share media category. So then the share media category is equals to, then let's give it none. Share media category is equals to none. So then just close that. After closing that, under that you will need to do visibility, and let's do lowercase visibility. So then visibility equals to new, then dictionary as always, then we will do that dictionary, then go one step down, curly brackets, inside curly brackets, then we need to put an object of, then let's say com dot linkedin dot ugc dot member network. Yeah, member network visibility. Let's just rectify that, member network VC visibility. So then let's close that. So then we need to assign that. So then let's say equals to public. So the visibility is public to everyone. They can be able to see what we have posted. So then we will say public. So then after that, we will then have to close that. So you will do one step down, 1, 2, request dot. We're adding the JSON body, right? So then let's say add JSON body, then assign it post body. So let's say var response equals to client dot execute. Then inside that we assign it request. So then we need to make if statement. So then we say if, like we always do. So then we'll say if response. So then if response dot is successful. If response is successful, like we always do, we need to console write line. So then we will then have to do console write line, and then we print what we are doing. So then if the response is successful, we will say post created successfully. All right, so then this is how we're going to see if the post was successfully created. So then let's just act like normal human beings and include full stop. So like we always do, if we create an if statement, we need to have else. So then it's if else, then else if. Then let's include that, and then that, and for in case things go south, we must print that failed to create a post. So then how do we do that? We do console write line, and then inside that, that's when we say failed to create post. Then we do colon, then we get the response from what was failed. So then now what we need to do, we need to say response dot status code, response dot status code, and close that. Let's do it like that. We need to include the $sign here. So then let's do $sign to have that. So then we will say response dot status code, just like that, right? So then we will then have to say, like we always do, console dot write line, and then we attach it to response dot content. So then onto that response dot content. So we're moving. You can see that we are almost there. So then the next method that we need to do, we need to create a method to post article on LinkedIn. So we will then have to go out of this and say 1 2, just 2 step down, then we'll be good, and then start with me to say private. Here we're creating a function to create a URL share article post on LinkedIn. So then let's say private static void, then we do post our method name, let's name it post article on LinkedIn. Then inside we give it a string of access token, then we give it a string of member URN, then we give it a string of article URL, not article ID. So then let's say a string and say article URL, then give it a string of article title. Yes, article title, we can include that. Article title, we can include that. Article title, we can include that. Then string article description. So then because we have that, then let's come here and say curly bracket, then we do our var client like we always do, which is var client equals to rest client. Then we pass the API. So let's pass that API HTTPS, then API dot linkedin.com v2, then UGC post, right? So then after having that API embedded in there, so then we will then have to say var request equals to new request how can we say, okay, let's say new REST request, yeah, then make it a function. Okay, let's be smart, so let's say REST request to avoid this IntelliSense. So that, and we will then do request dot method equals to method dot, like we always do, we say method dot post. But remember now the RestSharp no longer accept uppercasing in this API method calls. So then we will then have to say post in smaller case. It's in their updated docs. So then you close that. So then, like always, we need to add the necessary headers. So then let's add necessary headers. So then let's do headers, and we need to put not content type. We'll do authorization, then close that, and then that authorization, we give it what? We give it a barrier, and assign it access token, and we close that with that. Okay, let's do it like this. Add another guy in here just to be safe. Let's just move this whole block inside a string and delete one and close that and delete that, then close that. How smart people. Okay, so then let's say request add header, then we will do the XREST-LI protocol version, and then we give it 2.00. So then we will start by saying let's say X REST-LI protocol, REST-LI protocol version, then close that, and we create that, then we say 2.0.0. that's our version of the XREST-LI protocol. So then we need to close that. Let's close that with that. So then now we need to also maybe include the body that we'll be passing. So then for the body, I will go to the API documentation and grab one of their examples just to save time. So then I will do it like that. Do it like that. So then let's come here and paste that. So this is the body. I got it from their API documentation. So then what we can say here, we can just say learning more about LinkedIn by reading the LinkedIn blog by Prof. C, right? This way you will learn most valuable stuff. So then you do it like that. So we will then have to say request dot add JSON body, then we assign it post body. So then just under that we will then have to say var response equals to client dot var response equals to client dot execute, then we give it a request inside. So then what we can do for this one, we can copy the exact method we implemented on the post on LinkedIn method, right? Just to save time. So then let's copy that if statement. So then that if statement, let's copy it and just come here, paste that if statement, which is that. So then what we need to do lastly, we need to make sure that we create our last method. So then the last method will be the one for polling LinkedIn every 1 minute. So then without wasting any time, let's come here and say private void static poll LinkedIn, then give it object, let's give it object sender. Then here we can see elapsed event arguments, and then we give it that E. So then let's be smart. Then inside that, let's start the implementation. So then the implementation inside this, we need to have an if statement. So then let's say if string is null or empty, then LinkedIn access token inside that. Then let's do it like this. Then we can console write line. We console write line, say access token was not found. Access token was not found. This token was not found. Then please authenticate. So we're forcing the user to please authenticate, right? So then let's just act as normal human beings and include full stop. Then close that. So here instead, let's change this to public static void instead of public void static. So then after that, we'll then return that, right? Outside that, let's console write line polling LinkedIn for updates. Polling LinkedIn for updates. Then then we have that. And then remember, you need to also make sure that you include the show notification using the notify icon for the Windows desktop, right? So then what you need to do after that, you just need to come out of this method and then do 2 steps down as we always do and say private static void, then create that show notification, then you give it a string title, give it a string title, give it a string title and string message, then have that, then open that. Then what you need to do, you need to display your desktop notification. How do you do that? You do it simply notify icon. So notify icon needs to be like that. Just spelling rectification. So then let's do notify notify icon, notify icon, and notify icon, and we do notify icon here and assign it to new notify icon function, then close that, right? And then we do for we do also for notify. So what we can do, we can do notify icon dot icon, then equals to, then we give it system icons, give it system icons dot information, then we close that. We do also another notify icon, notify icon dot visible, notify icon dot visible equals to true, then we have that. Then let's do another notify icon dot balloon tip title, not balloon tip text, but we can say balloon tip title, right? And we say equals to title. So then we need to do another notify for the balloon tip text, and we assign it to message, which is that, and then we do the notify icon dot show balloon tip, then we will have that and give it 3000. So there you have it, and we done. We just need to install those packages, and I will give you some time to go and create your account so that you can put in your LinkedIn client ID and client secret and the access token that you're gonna be getting from that, and the redirect URI, which is that. So what we'll do now, we will then have to install all the packages that we require in our LinkedIn Notifier app. So the first package that we need to install is the RestSharp. So then let's go into Tools, the NuGet Package Manager, then let's try to install RestSharp. Then it's saying could not find project in Notifier at line 1. Okay, then, which is cool. Okay, I will take it as that you have done creating your LinkedIn developers account, and then now you have created your LinkedIn client ID and LinkedIn client secret for us to get the LinkedIn access token, and then you have embedded everything onto our main class program up there. Then the packages, I will deem it as you have installed those all required packages. So which is the .NET Add package RestSharp, and then .NET Add package Newtonsoft.Json, and then .NET Add package system.net.http, and then .NET Add package Microsoft.Extensions.Configuration, and then .NET Add package Microsoft.Extensions.Configuration.Json, right? And then now your code need to be looking like this, what we did, right? And now what needs to happen, you need to make sure that we do control build. So then we're doing control build, and then build 1 succeeded and 0 failed. We're good to go. So then now is the time to test. What we're going to do, I will not show you my client secret and client ID and all those. So then you can put yours from your own developer's account. So then what we're going to do, we're going to run the application. So then first thing first, let me open this. Let me open my LinkedIn so that we can all see the last post that we have. So then the last post that we have on my LinkedIn, let's do it like this. As you can all see my LinkedIn, then let's do that, and then let's see. Let me say show all post. So then the last post, it was 17 hours ago, right? So then this is the last post. So then now let's run the application and do the authentication, and we're going to post what? We're going to post, this is a test post from my LinkedIn Notifier app by Prof C. Just like that. We need to see this post getting posted to our LinkedIn. And then let me start the application. Started. Let's run it. And then what we're seeing in the console when I run the application, you can see that we get opening LinkedIn authorization URL, which is hitting that for authorization so that we can get the access token. Once we get the access token, I'm going to key in the access token in here. So then I will copy this URL that we did and go onto the browser and paste that URL. So then I will then log in. You will then also have to log in using your own password for your LinkedIn, and then let's log in. Boom, we got the access token from LinkedIn. So then let's copy that. Let me bring back this here. Then we paste that token and hit enter. Access token received successfully, member URL got, and then boom, post created successfully. It means that the post is created successfully. So then let's just go to LinkedIn, to my LinkedIn now, and then let's refresh the LinkedIn and see if the post is there. Let me log in. Now that I've logged in, boom, you can see it says this is a test post from my LinkedIn Notifier app by Proxy. So then, which is a great thing, and we are all good. I hope you followed it nicely, and then you got everything that we did in this application. So then, if you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to like the video, comment if you have any questions, and subscribe for more content like this in a simple context. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. So then, maybe before I can leave, like, let me just break it down for you what we did. In this video, we built a LinkedIn Notifier app that can automatic post to LinkedIn using the LinkedIn API, and then we covered the OAuth 2.0 authentication using the RestSharp for API request and publishing a post using LinkedIn UGC Post API automatically. So then we have automated that. So then once the app is running, I can now go and feed all the text or all the content that I need to post in real time, and set the time that at this time I need to post it, at this time I need to post it, which is good. And yeah, I think you are sorted. If you've got any question, and if you need anything, I will be happy to assist. And then the resources and everything, I will attach it on this video. Check on the comments, and then thank you. See you on the next one. Bye.